The turning point in my life? Well, the one that I tend to talk about most often relates to my own mental health journey. Um, and that, is a long, long story, but I'll try to make it as succinct as possible. Um, so, part of what's motivated me to work on the problem of access to mental health services is my own experience in a very broken mental health care system and trying to find treatment when none was really available. When I was a teenager, I started struggling with a pretty severe eating disorder. And despite living in New York City, where you'd think anecdotally there's just all the therapists in the world, somehow my family had extreme difficulty finding treatment for me that was affordable and accessible. When I did access treatment, it either wasn't evidence based or was unhelpful or it wasn't enough. And I spent about a decade plus kind of floundering in between ineffective or insufficient therapies, or not being able to access services at all, which is unfortunately very typical, but nothing about that first 10 years of my journey was sustainably going to help me. And I really vividly remember I was in graduate school and I decided to self enroll in an intensive outpatient program because I was still struggling, even while earning my PhD in clinical psychology, with this severe eating disorder. And there was one occasion in the program where we were having a group dinner because that was part of the therapy. And we all had to bring in foods that were challenging for us and try to eat them. So I did this, and another patient, not even a therapist, another patient asked me after the group meal what made me try a particular food that day, because I talked about it in groups before as that being an especially challenging thing for me to eat. Um, and I told her, I just decided to give it a try because I've given up on hoping I'll feel ready. um, and she looked at me and just said, like, what if that's the whole thing? What if that's all that getting better is, that all the recovery is just deciding, like, well, may not be ready, gonna do it anyway, over and over again. And I got really irritated because that seemed like oversimplifying everything. And I would have recovered by now if that was so simple, blah, blah. But I got stuck on that one comment that she raised and started kind of acting according to her question. Like, what if I just did that? What if I just treated every opportunity to have a different food or a new food or a different setting as a blank slate opportunity to take a step in the right direction, even though I don't feel ready ever. um, and that was the first time I ever felt like I was making sustainable progress um, towards something that had felt absolutely impossible, which was living well despite this eating disorder that had been with me for so long. Um, and it's incredible that it took 10 years to get to that turning point. It's incredible that it didn't happen in the context of actual treatment. It was just a chance encounter with another patient. But that, to me, when I first started studying in graduate school, the prospect that single sessions could matter, I knew that they could, because I knew that a moment could make such a big difference because of my own lived experience.
Well, listening to a man called Michael Bentin on the radio talking about how he dealt with his stammer, I had a bad stammer, and although I was getting help for the technical aspects of the stammer, I didn't get any help for the psychological aspects of it. And so when I heard him talk on the radio about how he handled his stammer, and I think it must have been about 2 minutes of an hour-long interview, what he said made sense to me, and I decided to apply it, and it was a turning point for me. And I often say in my workshops that this shows that even 2 minutes exposure to somebody that you've never met can actually be quite a therapeutic encounter. If I stammer, I stammer too bad.